Welcome back. So this is the third and final part. So now I tell you why I shared about D'Angelo. Well, some reasons are obvious. He's one of us. He's an amazing musician. And also it's showing you modeling grieving, because of course I'm always on this positive outcome, right? For us to be healthy, for us to be fine. And part of it is grieving when somebody goes. So it's the best way over something is through it and not to avoid it. So we remember him in his fullness, in his perfections and imperfections, in all of it. And we embrace that, and he's almost alive for us again. And especially processing our feelings. I remember the first time I had any kind of mental health intervention, I wanted to go into the program. It was a peer mentoring program, and part of the fellowship was that you would have a therapist reading your journals and monitoring you, because they wanted to know if you're going to help other students, you should be healthy yourself, or at least aware of yourself. So I'd write this therapy journal, and I would get my feelings wrong. How can you get your feelings wrong? Well, I tend to be in my head, as you can see maybe by a lot of these things that I do, that I tend to be in my head, and I couldn't distinguish a thought from a feeling. So she would correct me and she would say, that's a thought, that's a feeling. And I kept on doing it, and I got better. Of course, that's a lifelong thing of identifying feelings and thoughts and separating them, because different things requires a different intervention. So I'm thinking, how does it feel? How do I feel now about his passing? I think sad. I feel sad. Like most people, we feel sad. Also, it's especially sad because I'm of his generation, like I'm Gen X, so I feel my mortality, so I feel fragile and frail, and it would be, but you can't retreat from that, because that's life, that's how it is, right? We're here, we don't know how long, but we're here, and we should enjoy it while we're here and be fully here. Yes, so that's about identifying the feeling and remembering his amazing legacy, which I said before, we'll always have his music, and somehow all his atoms now become a part of us, a part of this life force, a part of this positive black identity that he loved, that he was really about. He was really about being identified as being black, and about black music, and about passing a torch to the next generation. And so also I'm thinking he was worried too about black men, especially musicians, dying early. And he succumbed. D'Angelo, I keep saying, he passed away as a result of pancreatic cancer. So I looked that up, and like most cancers, it's a combination. It can be of hereditary things and lifestyle choices. But I also want to make sure, as with everything in the US, because blackness has to do, it's a social construct and a system of oppression that has been put in place. So as usual, black people have the highest cancer mortality rate of all racial groups. And this has to do, and I'm reading from the Regional Council Care Associates on cancer, and the problem there is that black people have low access to care and insurance coverage, which affects the provision of preventative service that can help people avoid cancer. So to begin with, they're blocked from preventative avenues. And then there's the issue of screening rates, because screening can enable prevention to treat pre-cancerous condition. There are also barriers to that. So that's another way they don't get pre-screening. And then there are some cultural attitudes and health behaviors that we have. And some of those cultural attitudes and health behaviors also have to do with access to, like, people. You say people eat a certain way. Yeah, that's culture, but that's also, those are the easiest ways to eat. Those are the kinds of food I have available. So it's not a blame game, it's a whole system of things. So the whole point is what to do, right? What to do, not to get stuck in this grief or as it is, but to do something. And we have models from people like the Black Panthers who did things like clinics. So I guess what I want to get from this is how do we go forward? And we have his music, but we also have his concern that more black men especially not die early. Of course, no black people, we don't want anyone to die early of any race, but since we're the highest mortality rate, how can we look out for our community in ways that help improve our health outcomes? So yes, so that's where I have to wrap up here and ask you, how do you feel about his passing? How do you feel about learning about him? How do you feel about anything at all in this crazy time in our country? Thanks so much for listening.